Hello, my name is Liza Moscovice, and I am a scientist and animal behaviorist. And I currently work at the Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology in Germany, where I'm studying the social behavior of farm animals, mainly pigs. But I came to this place also from a background in primatology. So that's why I'm recording this video to tell you about my path to becoming an animal behaviorist and my experience also in primatology and where that led me after. So, yeah, I knew from a really young age, probably around 12, that I was just fascinated with animals and I wanted to work with animals and try to understand, mostly observe animals and try to understand their behavior better and try to understand how they're perceiving the world. And so I basically tried to get a background in biology. I also got really interested in neuroscience and trying to understand the coordination of the behavior at the neural level in the brain. And when I was in college, I found an opportunity to do a study abroad program for a semester in Tanzania. And that's when I first worked with wild primates. So I did a kind of a brief field experiment where that was actually the first time I designed a study too. So I had to work really independently and come up with a study idea to work with a group of baboons, and they were already mostly or partially habituated to people, so they weren't scared of people around them because they were near right outside the national park and there were a lot of tourists coming through. And I decided after observing them, I saw that they were spending actually a lot of time in the camping areas where tourists would stay, and they were actually using food from the like human food from the trash pits. And I decided to look at their patterns, kind of their daily use of the area where the camping site was, and how much they were relying on the human food versus the natural food. And I thought this would be important both because for prevention, to try to find ways to reduce the baboons' reliance on the human food, which of course is not healthy for them, um, and also just to understand how human wildlife conflicts and how having tourists there and having a lot of human food around is influencing the primates. So it was a really good opportunity to design my own study, figure out how to collect the data, try out different methods for behavioral observations, and then write up the results. And I highly, highly recommend. I think I'm supposed to do recommendations at the end, but I already start giving them now. I really recommend that if you are interested in animal behavior and primatology, especially, that you get a chance to actually spend time observing the animals, the primates in the wild, and see if you really are motivated and stay focused and stay excited about it in the reality of being in a field setting and being uh, far away from usually from a lot of comforts and things that you're used to, and just kind of see if you uh, can really are really uh, motivated to do that, because it is an extreme uh, way to live if you really dedicate yourself to primatology, studying animals, especially in the wild. So yeah, that was my first experience, and then after the undergraduate program, I did some research in more of a lab setting for a while. I was also really interested in physiology and hormones, so I got some more lab experience. And that was also something I decided that I wanted to combine behavior with physiology, so to try to find ways to understand what's happening in the brain without doing invasive work with animals. That was really important to me. And measuring hormones that can also sometimes act as neurotransmitters in the brain, but they can also be released in the body. And measuring those kinds of hormones in um, saliva or urine or feces from animals was one way to try to um, get insights into the brain without being invasive. So this is something I was interested in, got more experience in. Then I applied to a PhD program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I really think that my field experience, the fact that I had already been in the field, had done some research with primates, even though it wasn't published at all, but at least that I had shown that I really could design a study and carry it out, and liked being in the field setting. I think that helped me to be taken seriously and as a PhD student, and helped me to get into the program. And so I studied in a psychology department at Madison, although I knew I wanted to do field research with primates, so it was a little bit different than typical psychology students. But I was supported a lot by my mentor, Chuck Snowden, in pursuing my dreams to do field research. And I think that's the most important thing for if you are interested in primatology. I don't think it actually matters so much if you get your degree through biology or psychology or anthropology, but it matters that you have a really supportive mentor, advisor, who can also help you make these kinds of connections and things you need to do to do the field work. So yeah, primatologists can be in many different departments. It's a very interdisciplinary field, and the most important thing is to just have good mentors, and you can always find courses that will be relevant for you across several different departments. So then I did field work in Tanzania for my PhD with chimpanzees, with an unhabituated group of chimpanzees. So this was more using a lot of behavioral ecology and indirect measures, looking at where chimpanzees had made nests, analyzing their feces to see what they were eating. So just being very creative in the methods to get insights into them. But they were a really interesting population to look at because they hadn't been studied since they were released. They were introduced onto this island. So it was an interesting study site, and the kind of research where whatever you find is interesting because there's so little known about this group. So that was also a really good experience in doing independent research and learning new methods that I hadn't used before. And then I think the other advice I would give if you're interested in primatology, besides getting out there and getting some real experience with that, just trust yourself, trust that it's the right thing for you to do, and trust that you'll find your way. But know that it might not be so simple to get, it might take some time to find kind of a more stable or permanent position. So I had a lot of different postdocs, and I actually loved it at the time. I got to be in so many different countries. I wrote grants and got funding to do exactly the work I wanted to do, but it also meant moving every 3 years or so, which was, a lot of a lot of work to do that. Hard to move around so much, but wonderful that I really got to be in the field a lot and really got to pursue the research questions I was really excited about. So I worked, so after this first postdoc in Tanzania, I did a postdoc in Botswana where I worked with baboons again. And then then I actually taught at a university for 2 years. So I was a visiting professor and got some teaching experience, but I really wanted to continue to do field work. So I was writing grants, and then I got another postdoctoral grant where I moved to Germany. And that was where I stayed for the next 6 years. Actually, 8 years my research was based in Germany. Or my research was based at a field site through Germany. So the research was in Congo with bonobos, which was the most amazing field site I've ever worked at, the most amazing species I've ever worked with, and also the hardest, most extreme conditions. Really, really difficult, but I loved it. So I worked with bonobos for about 3 years in Congo, and I was either based in Germany or in the States when I wasn't in the field, but research was all on this one of the few long-term study sites for bonobos in Congo, which was run by German researchers. And it was wonderful, and I really achieved a lot of my dreams for getting to observe and understand the world of a really interesting primate species. Um, I would say that I can't say that my work had direct bearing on conservation. Unfortunately, it's something that I regret about my primatology research, is that I think I did a lot to try to help people understand more about the primates and understand more about what was so um, how interesting they are, how smart they are, how social they are. Um, but I didn't do a lot to directly protect them and their habitat. And actually, in some ways, it was hard, because just by working with these habituated bonobos, but by being at this long-term field site with the bonobos, we saw that they were actually, in some ways, more vulnerable to poaching because they were used to people, so they didn't always run away also from people they didn't know. And we often had to confront poachers. There were poachers who would kill bonobos in the area where we were working, even though it's illegal. We did encounter poachers who were armed, and it was very scary. And we did. I mean, I guess that's what I did for primate conservation, was to approach and basically tell poachers that they couldn't be in this area and that they had to leave. But yeah, I was always scared for the bonobos and scared that we wouldn't be able to protect them at some point. And I think it's something we really have to take seriously with primatology, is that also our presence with the primates can sometimes put them in danger as well, when they are habituated and used to people. So, and then, I mean, the other lesson I would say, or the other thing I would really uh, um, encourage you to do, is to know that you don't. There's so many different things to do with primatology. So, it's wonderful if you end up your whole career working with primates, but it's also totally possible that you will end up teaching in a university or another setting and not doing as much direct research, or end up doing a different kind of research. So now I took all the methods and the questions that I asked with primates before, and now I'm working on farm animals, working with pigs, but still asking similar questions. How do they perceive their world? Um, what are the mechanisms mediating their behavior? And I'm also using non-invasive measures so that we can measure hormones in saliva and not have to take invasive measures. And I'm trying to do more for the welfare of farm animals, so animals that will end up that are raised for food, and trying to improve their conditions so that they have happier lives. And that feels really rewarding work. I never would have thought I would like this work early in my career, but at this point, I really it feels like a really good way to use the knowledge and the skills that I've acquired to try to promote more welfare solutions for animals in captivity. And so that's what I'm working on now. And so I'm at the Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology in Dummersdorf in Germany. And you can find me online at the Institute. And I'm always happy to also hear from students who are excited about animal behavior research. And if you're interested in our work, you can find me online, and definitely write me if you would like. Okay, and good luck with your primatology research. And yeah, I wish you all the best and a lot of success and a lot of wonderful time in the field with the animals. Bye.